Okay, hello guys. This is Natalie Morris from Quantum Command, and this is our Take a Look call today. We've invited several folks to join in on this call, ask questions as they come. This is really going to be a call about learning a little bit about this work, asking whatever questions come to mind, clarifying what I do, somehow trying to take the realm of quantum physics into kind of mainstream vernacular in understanding how the body works, how it can release pathogens on a quantum level. That today, I have a friend who is on with me, who's kind of been with me quite a bit through this journey. Her name's Carrie Dunham. Say hello.
Hi, everybody.
Carrie's really just been a rock and a good friend to me in all this time. It's very challenging to get into this work and be accepted in Christian communities. You probably saw the many of you probably saw the comments on the Anthony Patch video that posted, the immediate kind of reaction to, I think might be satanic. This is energy. This is this. This is that, and how challenging it is to get the message out that this is not energy work. I mean, I know that people put it in the category of energy work, but that it's just really not energy work in the sense that I'm moving energy. That's not what's happening. The body is correcting some things on its own through some commands that I give. So back to Carrie. I just want Carrie, if you would like to just say a couple things about yourself. Carrie's going to moderate. She's going to be reading you guys' chat questions. She's going to be seeing what your questions are and interrupting me and keeping me on track, so I keep myself together because I can ramble. So.
Oh. Well, we love to hear you ramble, but just real quick on me, because I don't want to take up much Natalie's time. I have had the pleasure of knowing Natalie now for at least 7 or 8 years. I can't remember exactly how long it's been. And I've seen her journey. For those who know her journey with her health issues, I had to sadly just kind of stand back and just watch her go through being sick and not really getting to the root cause of what was making her sick. So I'm sure she'll share more about that this evening. And then we had the pleasure of working with Natalie's mom, who was doing this work. And we have used it for, going on 5 years. And we saw just time after time it work. But again, we really never got to the root cause of things until Natalie started doing this work and then uncovering some things that her mom hadn't found. And our health is just completely different. I went from having a son who would have been diagnosed autistic to, everybody thinks that I'm lying when I say that now because he's really, really great. My one son had Lyme disease, and just the health issues that he had with that, they totally disappeared. My goodness, I could write a book, and actually I really need to sit down and start doing that, just writing down, specifics of how your work has really helped our family dramatically. And anytime my boys, start to feel like their bodies are not capable of handling something that's thrown their way, such as a major virus, they beg for a scan because they know that they're going to feel better and almost immediately. So if not immediately, then within a few hours. So I'm so eternally grateful for you, Natalie, and I'm so thankful that you've allowed yourself to be used by God to help others. And I'm excited to hear what you have to speak on tonight.
Thank you. Carrie is such a faithful friend. She, her boys are so amazing. And her boy story is a lot like my son's story, Isaiah, where he was on that Asperger's spectrum and he was about to be full. If I just think about it, I start to get really teary. So, but he was really sinking into the abyss of autism, and I was just losing my kids. I was just losing them, and I couldn't figure out why. Of course, I was bedridden. I was trying to get well. I couldn't figure out how. So through slow processes, years and years of this work and trial and effort and trial and error, more like it, and doing it wrong and doing it wrong and doing it wrong, friends like Carrie stood beside us, did not question our walk with God. She knew our hearts. She knew that we wouldn't get into stuff that was garbage, that was occult, and that was new age. She didn't always understand the language, but she didn't have to. She knew me as a friend, and she walked me through this. And, you know, she watched not only me be sick, but she watched as I started to get well, she watched the friends around me, you know, fall and not stay with me. The more, it was ironic, the more I got well, the more I lost friends. So by this time last year, I had pretty much lost everything except for Carrie and 2 really close lifelong friends. And I'm so grateful for Carrie and her story and her extremely honest feedback. She always gives good feedback, and she's always telling me what's going on, what's happening here, what's happening there, with how she's feeling and what's happening in her body, because that kind of feedback is what makes this work better. So because she allowed herself to be, you know, connected to us, she's really been able to be a part of the development of the work. So those early folks were really critical just because of the feedback and well, this worked and that didn't work. And then this happened when this happened, to the point where now I fine-tuned it to where you don't really need to spend that much time with me, and it works very quick because we gained a lot of information with that. So what we're going to do tonight is we're just going to talk about this work. I'm going to tell a little bit about my story. Carrie's going to interject anything that she wants to talk about throughout all this. We're going to take your questions. I hope that this will be helpful for you. I am going to post this. It's going to be online afterwards so you can pass it along. The really critical pieces that I'd like for you to take away is how this work works, what we address, and what long-term health looks like. So let's dive in. First of all, I'll tell a little bit about my story. The first part about my story is that I was pregnant with my third son, with my third child, not my third son, my second son, my last kid, Jake. I was pregnant with him, and we went on a hike trying to induce labor. Of course, labor did not come, but during that hike, I got bit by a tick. Didn't even know I got bit, didn't get a tick bite, didn't have any of that issues, have any of those issues like with a red bullseye or any awareness. 2 weeks later, gave birth, and then 3 weeks later, I noticed something was wrong. This was not postpartum fatigue. I was tired, but have never been that tired. So the fatigue began to compound. I began to get really sick, like feverish, a flu I couldn't shake, like the body burning, and just brutal fatigue. 6 months turns into a year, turns into 2 years, and I'm very aware that something is really, really wrong. My friends around me are telling me, you've got Lyme disease, you've got Lyme disease. This was, almost 10 years ago when Lyme disease was really beginning to become mainstream. And I live 90 miles west of one of the fastest growing Lyme capitals in the United States. The county is the fastest growing county of Lyme disease in the United States. So Lyme disease epidemic was really the buzzword. It's what everybody had. It's what your symptoms were about. And so my friends who had kind of run the gambit of the Lyme treatments said, you have Lyme, you just need to treat your Lyme, and we can get you non-symptomatic, and then you can have your life back. And I tried everything. If it was Lyme disease oriented, besides, the antibiotics, mainly because I couldn't afford doctor care, I was completely poor. My husband was barely holding down a job. We were barely functional. We had some traumas in our life, in our marriage. My husband had some traumas, and we were holding on for all we had. So for me to get sick, it blew everything just up completely. So I began to do a lot of weird treatments. I did cemento banderol, I did salt C, I did the Rife machine. If you've never heard of Rife machine, go have fun with that for a weekend and let me know if you think that's just totally weird, sitting in front of a light bulb, turning frequencies on and writing them down and writing how many minutes you sat in front of them and then clocking what you did, how you felt that week. It was crazy making. It was this constant killing off pathogens, herxing, detoxing, killing off pathogens, herxing, detoxing. In the meantime, my kids are starting to fall apart. They're getting sick, really weird symptoms, really strange things happening. I can't figure it out. And I began to work with my mom. We began to develop muscle testing techniques, which is, everybody knows what well, not everybody, but a lot of people know what muscle testing is from the chiropractor's office or like a naturopath. Like just as an example, I just happen to have a box of wheat-based rigatoni. I cover up the, maybe this is to cover up the brand name, I don't know. But let's just say this is wheat, right? This is an example of, right? This is named wheat, right? Yeah, okay. So just make sure. If you're gonna test yourself on this, of course, if you're testing yourself in like chiropractors or naturopathic office, and they do in the muscle testing, the strong response is this, the weak response is this. So if I'm holding this and I go weak, it means I can't eat wheat, or at least this particular item. So that's kind of like the basic baselines, kinesiology and biofeedback kind of all mixed in one, using the muscle-based response system to get a strong or a weak response in context of a question that you're asking the body. You're asking the body by holding it. The intention is, can I eat this? Is this good for me? Gives me a strong or a weak. So there is some communication of the body going on there, but it's in a paradigm of strong and weak, okay? So we changed that paradigm, and whenever you hear me say the word we, it was me and this other person working together. So when we started working together, we changed the paradigm from strong and weak to yes and no. And as we developed this technique of getting answers from the body in yes or no questions, we realized we can ask a lot of things of the body. We can ask, is there a toxin in the body? Is there pathogens in the body? How many pathogens are in the body? What kinds of pathogens in the body? We started developing lists of like pathogens, you know, like every pathogen known to man, all Lyme pathogens, all vaccine pathogens, you name them. We had them on lists, and we were going through going, well, is this in the body? Is this in the body? So as time went on, we discovered what kind of pathogens were in the body. I was developing a type of muscle testing that involved reflex action so that I couldn't influence the testing. The whole idea is that I didn't want this to go to be a yes. Like, this is a yes answer. This is a no answer. No response at all. Yes goes up, no goes down. And I've trained my body in a reflexive action to respond that way. So when I think yes, it goes up. When I think no, it stays down. The critical piece to that is that if I have this and I want to eat it, but I can't have it because there's a toxin in it, for example, which there's not. This is fine. But if there was GMO contamination, something like that, and I test it, but I want it, I don't want my want to influence my testing. So the critical piece to all this was, let's develop a reflex action so that I can't influence what I want to happen. The body will only respond with truth. Okay, so that critical fine tuning is really important, especially when we talk about what types of pathogens are being removed and the accuracy level. You know, do I think I have Borrelia burgdorferi, the Lyme pathogen? Because if I think that I do, am I influencing my testing? Do I actually have Borrelia? So those are the things that that came out of developing this reflex action, was those processes of we have to make sure that we're not wanting an answer, that we're not influencing answers, because we need to get down to the truth. Fast forward about 5 or 6 years, my mom and I kind of go our separate ways. We're doing different things. I start to develop some work on my own. And again, all this is, I mean, this sounds like really weird, ethereal work, but I can tell you, all it entails is me laying in bed in pain, muscle testing myself. Can this happen? Is this happening? What's happening here? This is not like some amazing, fireworks going off at any given moment and me getting a download from God and a beam of light coming down and me writing things down, getting info. It was trial and error. What's in the stomach today? Why is my body burning? Why am I so tired? Are the adrenals damaged? Is there any damage in the hypothalamus? Why is there damage in the hypothalamus? Is there a pathogen in a place in the brain that should not be there? It's just the constant asking of questions over and over again through the daily humdrum in between Blue's Clues and trying to fix cheese quesadillas for the kids. There's no like awesome angel of God that came and dictated out to me certain things. That's not how this worked. So I want to make sure people don't understand that this is not like a moment in time where I woke up one day and I got a revelation from God. I was sick, and I was sick for a really long time, and every day I tried to solve this problem. That's it. It's just that easy. It's not pretty. It's not clean. It's not simple. I took a paradigm that's really weird, and I used that tool of yes and no to ask the questions of the body to get those answers. So that's kind of part of it. Do you want to say something, Carrie?
No, not right now.
Okay. So doing that, laying in bed, day in, day out, laying on the couch, watching Blue's Clues, watching Lord of the Rings all the time, trying to change diapers, trying to keep the kids safe, trying to make them eggs, trying to do all these different things. We noticed that through these processes of asking questions, I started getting better. After Mom and I kind of split up, by the time Mom and I kind of split up, says the internet connection's unstable. I don't know what that means. By the time Mom and I split up, I was at the point where I was functional in the sense that I could hold down a job. I was teaching, I had my kids in a private school, so I could, I was functioning during the day and it was fine. I was collapsing at night, and I was still in pain, but at least I was functioning. Before I was totally bedridden, couldn't get out of bed. So the work that Mom and I did together got me out of bed, but it wasn't solving the problem. So about a year and 2 years ago, I found the causative pathogen for all of this chronic illness. And I cleared it of myself, cleared my kids of it. And we can talk about clearing in a little bit, about what clearing entails. We'll talk about that. Cleared myself of it, cleared the kids of it. And all of a sudden we started getting better. And my symptoms weren't just cycling in and out, they were going away. It took some time, and I wasn't sure what the process was like. And I was constantly asking my body what it was doing. But my son started coming out of this fog that he was in. My daughter stopped complaining about her stomach hurting all the time and being afraid all the time. My son, Jacob, started to be able to just, he would have total adrenal fatigue and couldn't walk. He would get up in the morning and go, I'm shaky, I can't walk. And he couldn't even walk himself to the table. I'd have to, carry him. So they started getting well. And then I started working on my friends. And we had kind of been doing this in many ways anyway. We'd already been working on these people, but then I added these additional scans that I'd come up with to address this particular pathogen. So I addressed this particular pathogen, and everybody started to get well in one form or another. Carrie's journey was a little bit longer because hers was, she had systems she had to heal, and that kind of the stuff that we did early on with Carrie, what Carrie experienced, nobody has to experience anymore because the scans have gotten fast even since Carrie was doing the work. They started getting well, my family, my friends, and then I started taking clients for free, and they started to get well. And then I said, well, this is something. So as I've been able to work on clients in the last year, it's been about a year and a half, the scans have even gotten better. Because one of the things that you learn about this work, this muscle testing work, is you can't get good at it unless you work on people. You have to work on people, and you can't do anything bad to the body. The body is not made. I can't command Carrie's liver to disappear because the body isn't made to do that. It can't make its liver disappear. So with those things in mind, you can't do anything bad to the body. You can just do something halfway and not complete a process, but the body can pick up the slack and finish the process. It might take time. So that's kind of the summary of how I got where I got. And then, starting to work on clients, the scans got even better. We saw Lyme disease. We're seeing Lyme disease people getting out of bed, taking second jobs. We're seeing kids not have the ADHD anymore. We're having, of course, my kids were really, totally healed from it. And then I used this work to navigate the small stuff, the acute stuff, like the respiratory bugs, the digestive bugs, and those kinds of things that kind of keep me busy during the day. Because the initial scan, the first scan where we remove that pathogen that's causing everything, that's just that's an hour appointment. Everything else that I do is usually kind of like the Band-Aids on it's not really Band-Aids, but it's like the annoying stuff that y'all could probably kill off if you just gave it a couple days, but nobody wants to give it a couple of days. They just want to just scan it so it'll go. So it's fine. And that's what I do. I do those little bitty scans throughout the day. And that's what's happened today. Why we're kind of a little crazed getting to this call is because I had so many emergency calls and new people that said, I'm in an emergency critical situation. I need intervention. So we, I had to go do that. So I'm going to take a break from that idea for a second. And what I'm going to do next is talk about MFI, which is the pathogen that's causing everything. Carrie, did you want to talk about it? Oh, she left. Okay. All right. How's everything going? I see that video was stopping. I hope that that's been resolved. Has that been resolved, Carrie?
Yes, we're seeing you now, but yeah, it did stop for a little bit.
Okay. All right, good. So the next part of this video, I'm going to talk about the pathogen that causes everything. Carrie, did you want to say anything before I get into that?
No, not right now.
Okay. All right. So today what we're going to also talk about is what is the causative pathogen to all this. So in the travels of asking the body yes and no, yes and no, yes and no, can you do this? Can you do that? I began to understand that the body can quantumly release pathogens. So what does quantumly releasing pathogens mean? Quantum releasing of pathogens means the body can be asked, not forced, not told, but the body can be asked, can you take this pathogen and release it on a quantum level, extinguishing it out of existence, essentially, transferring it from one form of energy to another, and in form of, I don't like that either, but that's like thermodynamics type stuff. So that's really what the body's doing, even though it sounds like really hokey and weird. The body's taking the pathogen and no energy is ever gained or lost. It's just, I don't remember what the law of thermodynamics is. I'd have to go look it up. But I'm looking to Carrie going, do you know the second law?
The third law of thermodynamics has to do with there's no such thing as absolute zero temperature. But I don't know what the second law is, sorry.
That's right. She was watching Anthony Patch and that came up and she's like, wait a minute, I know this. Anyway, there's the idea that energy is not lost or gained. I think it's just, I can't remember the way it's talked about. But anyway, what the body does is quantumly release these pathogens and toxins, which means it's broken up into its individual components and released outside of the body. It's really in interchange with the boson field, which is kind of the field that we all just sort of swim in. Lynn Taggart talks about it being called the field, or there's another word they use, the 0 point field. So the body interacts with that anyway. So that's what quantumly release means. When quantum release happens, and we're going to talk about the pathogen in a minute, but I got to tell you about quantum release first. Quantum release, when that happens, the pathogen is gone from the body instantly. It doesn't have to detox. It doesn't have to move out of the body. You don't have to move it into the lymphatic system and move it into the digestive system and get rid of it that way. It's out of the body completely. So when that happens, the immune response stops. Once all the hormones are out of the bloodstream, because the hormones are being released as an immune response. But once those fatigue out and those aren't in there anymore, because the hormone, interchange, the hormone release can kind of have long-term effects, for a couple of hours. But once all those have extinguished, the hormones have extinguished in the bloodstream, the immune response stops. And that's the really critical thing. I'm seeing that question, do you have to verbally ask the body to do this? That's a really good question. You can ask, I do that for the courtesy of clients. I'll say it out loud. Can you do this, this, and this? But once clients kind of get the language, I don't have to say it out loud anymore. All I have to do is think it, because the interchange between the two people is energetic in the sense that it's electric. It's electric, boogie, woogie, woogie. Do you guys remember that? So the electric connection that you and I have over the phone, or we can do it in person, but I always do it over the phone or on Skype or whatever. That's happening. It's a wireless connection, just like this is connected to a Wi-Fi router that's somehow connected to the cloud up in the sky. Well, what's the cloud? We don't really know what that means. I mean, us like common men on the street don't really understand that. We just take it for granted that these signals coming to our phone like satanic, right? Just because they're invisible. So just because it's invisible, we don't understand it, doesn't mean it's religious or spiritual in nature. But the question of, do I have to ask it verbally to the body? I do that as a courtesy so people can hear what I'm saying. But I sit and work on my kids quietly all the time. Like I'll sit next to them. They'll say, my tummy hurts. And I'll sit next to them and I'll just touch their leg and I'll go, is there a patch in the body? Is there toxin in the body? Is there this? Is there that? And then just clear. I can just do it quietly in church. So nobody sees me. Nobody hears me. So you can do it on a thought level, and that's okay. So that's the answer to that question. So when a quantum release happens, the immune response stops, and then the body can go back to functioning. So it can either heal something that's been damaged in the process of the pathogen being there. It can restore hormone function or endocrine function if something's been blocked. It can, like for example, when I get a digestive bug, my digestive system kind of clamps down, stops working. But once I release that digestive system, or once I release that pathogen out of the digestive system, things start to flow again. So you can see how like just there's the body having that immune response going, got to deal with this pathogen, can't do anything else. And it makes you thirsty and it makes you feel nauseous and you want to, you're like something's wrong. And then when it's cleared, all those immune responses, the stomach hurting, whatever else is going on, the anxiety, the fatigue, stop. The body renormalizes. The challenge is that we don't even know what it's like to be well anymore. We're so used to being sick. I remember telling a friend of mine who doesn't have MFI, we're going to talk about MFI in a minute, the pathogen that's causing everything. He doesn't have MFI. He and I were talking about how in the 80s when we were kids, nobody ever got sick. I mean, yeah, Johnny down the street got the flu and was at home for 2 days. But, 2 days later, he'd be back playing flag football with us in the front yard again. That nobody really, you kind of heard about cancer every once in a while, but not a lot of people had it. These different autoimmune diseases that have cropped up in the last 20, 30 years just wasn't happening when we were kids. Where did they come from? And we have been conditioned at this point to think that we're supposed to be sick. One of the challenges that clients have when they transition out of being sick to being well is they can't tell, is this a digestive bug? Do I have a digestive bug, or am I relapsing with this MFI? And they can't tell. And it's almost like PTSD. Like when they have a stomach pain, they're like, oh my gosh, I think I'm going to die. And then I clear the stomach bug and they're like, oh, I feel better. Well, that's cool. And then they can feel how it feels to be well. But that first transition, that 3 to 6 months, can be challenging for clients because they don't know what it's like to be well. So they can't even read their own immune responses. I worked with a girl who she had never had a normal period in her entire life. In fact, she had been on lifelong birth control pills because her hormones were all messed up, and every time she had a period, she would bleed and never could stop. So when we started working together, I said, if you get off your pills, you'll start to have a new period. She had never had a good period, and she didn't. And I'm not saying this in a condescending way at all, but because she'd never had a new period, she did not know how to count her days. So I had to tell her how to count her days and show her, here's a great app. Go look at that app that's going to help you count your days. And you just put in when you start and when you stop. And it should look, how long should a period be? Well, anywhere between this and this. And so we talked about that. She's had normal periods ever since. And it's been because of her hormones. Her hormones are blocked by MFI. We'll talk about MFI again. But my point in saying all of this is we have forgotten what it's like to be well. We forgot that when you go outside, you should not be allergic to the pollen or to bread or to dairy or to peanut butter or be sick to our stomach every 35 days somehow, have cyclical fevers, have migraines. We have forgotten how to be well. Okay, and one of the reasons we have forgotten to be well is because of this pathogen that it's endemic. It's endemic, and we're going to go over it. Yep, we're buying the lies, but here's the thing is, clients will come to me and they'll go, I've spent so much money on hospitals. I feel so stupid. I feel so bad. And I said, give yourself a lot of grace, because you really felt like you were dying, and it's the only game in town, okay? And you trust these doctors. Yes, there are lies being told of us. There are good doctors out there that are really trying to help. They only have so many resources, but some of them just don't know. Some of them, I can't tell you how many women have come to me and told me, my doctor just says it's all in my head. Like, all my blood panels turn out normal. They say I'm imagining it, like I'm some kind of fruitcake. I hear that from women all the time. They just don't, you'll be fine. You're just tired from having 3 kids. And, you should just really think about better things. Stop thinking so negatively, and then you'll be better. What? I'm on depression level, suicidality, watch here. And you're telling me to think different thoughts? No thoughts as to the endocrine system collapsing. So, all right, so that's some critical pieces about quantum release. Quantum release is the command to the body. It's kind of in a form of a question, but they're coded so that I can say them quick. And I say coded like in a code, not like secret, but not like esoteric. I just mean like I've shrunk them down into short statements so that I can get the work done quick, which benefits you guys and me. So, now I really am going to talk about MFI, I promise. So, Carrie, did you want to say anything? I think there you are.
There I am, sorry. My train of thought just went away. Yeah, I had something I was going to say and it just left my mind, so sorry.
Okay. So somebody wrote mind over matter. Okay, I'm going to just address that really quick because it's really important to know. You cannot think your way out of this MFI. Now, these things that I ask the body to do are very fine-tuned. It's quantum physics language that I ask the body to do. Now, clients don't hear that language because I've shrunk it down into short little statements so that the body can do it very, very quickly. But you can't think happy thoughts outside of MFI, and I will tell you why. So MFI stands for Mycoplasma fermentans incognitus. This is a pathogen that when you get a panel done, like for Lyme disease, sometimes they'll test you for some mycoplasmas just to see if you have, something that's in there that's not supposed to be in the mix that's kind of weird. Sometimes you'll get a positive, sometimes you won't. Mycoplasma fermentans incognitus, or MFI, is a mycoplasma. But it is a pathogen that's owned by the United States Army. You can go online and you can find the patent. And by the way, when we were early on in this journey and we were creating our lists, let me give you an example of this list here. So we were making lists of mycoplasmas. Of course, it's the one that I did not pick up. We were making lists of, there it is, mycoplasmas. Okay, when we were going through the list to see what was in the body, these are the types of mycoplasmas that we asked about. Mycoplasma mobile, Mycoplasma bovis, Californicum, Canis, Mycoplasma cynos, Mycoplasma gallinarium, Mycoplasma molari, Mycoplasma genitalium. I mean, some of these I've never even heard of. And MFI was just on that list. Okay, this is not like we went out to find MFI and tackle it to the ground and get it. We didn't even know about MFI when we were starting to do this work. We were just looking for Borrelia. Okay, I just wanted to find Borrelia and I wanted to kill it and I wanted to be well. I was like, can we just do that? Can we just find the right tincture that's going to kill the pathogens so I can get my life back? Okay, and then we're going to treat our kids, and then my kids are going to be okay, and then we're going to move on and get out of this living hell. And that's not what happened, because Borrelia was not causing the source. It was not the source. It was not causing the chronic illness. It was causing some of the things, but it was because of MFI is the main infection. The Lyme disease was the co-infection, as opposed to the doctors have it the other way around. That Lyme disease is is the main infection, and everything else, including mycoplasmas, are just an annoying co-infection. And the challenge with Lyme disease is you can't tell what pathogen is causing what. Is Babesia causing the backaches, or is it causing the brain fog? Is the Borrelia causing the pain or the arthritis or the body burning? And so you go through years and years of treatment not knowing what you're really doing with a lot of antibiotics when MFI is the causative pathogen. It's the reason why the body cannot control itself. And we're going to go into why that happens. So, MFI has this really amazing skill set, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to share my screen here in a minute, and I'm going to show you the endocrine system, and I'm going to go into detail about what MFI does and how it destroys the body and why these symptoms manifest differently with different people. For Carrie, her symptoms were different than mine. Okay, for my son Isaiah, they were different than my son Jacob. They were different because of our genetic structure. We're going to talk about that. So when MFI goes into the body through a variety of vectors, we'll talk about those vectors in a little bit, MFI immediately goes into the hypothalamus. Now, MFI is different than any other pathogen. When the body is a normal person, like a normal healthy body, there's light in the body. The body uses light to see. Jesus talked about there being light in the body, that the light comes in through the eyes. There's light in the body. The body sees with that light pathogens. Okay, so I get a respiratory bug. What happens? The body sees it, it identifies it, says, oh, we need to kill that. And what happens? You get an immune response. You get coughing, you get sneezing, you get the lymphatic system gets all stressed out and there's mucus, you get ear aches, you get your throat hurts, and you get tired and you get a fever, and you lay down and you rest for 4 days, hopefully a normal person. It's so funny because we were watching Dick Van Dyke the other day. We love Dick Van Dyke. And there was this whole episode about him getting what they kept calling the 24-hour flu. Over and over and over again. He said, I think I just had the 24-hour flu. And I just, and he was a mess. And I told my husband, I said, when was the last time we've ever heard the words 24-hour flu? I've not ever heard that in the last decade. Who has ever heard of a 24-hour flu? But then that was normal because the pathogens were totally different. But anyway, don't get me started. They weren't coated in heavy metals. You didn't have MFI that was destroying your endocrine system. So yeah, you could kill it off in 24 hours. You were miserable, but the body had the quick immune response, knocked it out using the fever, and then it was over. 24 hours. Imagine. Can you imagine having a respiratory pathogen for 24 hours? Carrie can, because she knows you've probably felt that before. But when you get just a couple and the boys kind of get aggravated and they're like, something's wrong, and then it's gone.
Yeah.
Your body kills it off.
Yep.
So
happens all the time.
Yeah, now it does, right? Because their immune systems are totally functioning.
There's a lot of times where we'll get some symptoms and we just know that our bodies can handle it, and we don't feel horrible, and it handles it. It's just fine on its own because our bodies now know how to handle these viruses.
Yeah, one of the things that Carrie's really good at is going, before we call Natalie, let's take a little bit of homeopathy. Let's do some extra magnesium. Let's boost the system a little bit. Maybe we can get through this quicker and you won't need a scan. Yeah. And so she's already implemented things that she can do just to boost the immune system in the process of the pathogen being in the body. So I highly recommend that to all clients. Empowering you with nutrients and feeling better and getting homeopathy under your belt and getting these oils under your belt. Because once your immune system starts to function, you can utilize all those things. Your body will start to take that and use it to kill pathogens, and you get over stuff quick, and you don't have to have scans, which is fine. I don't care if you call me for scans, it's fine. But you just get to learn 2 different modalities. So it's fun. It's fun to kind of experiment with what works. You looked like you were going to say something.
Oh, I was just saying there's times that we don't need to call you for a really long time, and then I miss talking to you. And so I'll make up a reason for you to text me back.
And then I'm like, you're totally faking because you don't have any passions.
Yes, you'll do a scan, just a sympathy scan. I don't have anything. You're making it up.
You're fine, you're a faker.
Which is so different because, we used to, for myself, I had allergies, seasonal allergies. the food allergies, heartburn, joint pain, irregular heartbeat. And a lot of those things went away when I changed my diet. So I just chalked it off to, okay, I just can't eat gluten or I can't eat grains. And that's just going to be my life for the rest of my life. And I was on this huge, everybody needs to be gluten-free kick.
Right.
I started on that, I guess, about 7 years ago. No, actually 8 years ago. We started landing on the gluten-free diet and dairy-free diet and soy-free diet and anything artificial diet, because we saw it help those severe symptoms. But, if we ever ate something, those symptoms could come right back. And that's a miserable way to live. I mean, I've always said, I don't mind being gluten-free the rest of my life, but I don't think I can stand being dairy-free. And I just missed it. And, I'm still, even though we can now tolerate it, I'm still picky. And so for my milk, it needs to be raw, it needs to be organic, it needs to be grass-fed. But we, a couple years ago, wouldn't have been able to even drink it without having reactions. So nice not having, those daily aches and pains and, headaches. Like I haven't had a headache other than a chemically brought on headache for a really long time.
Cool. That's cool. That's exactly the types of stuff that everyday modern Americans are living with. I guess I just can't eat gluten. It must just be the gluten. We just have more gluten in our food than the food that was in our ancestors from 300 years ago. And we just have more of this and we have more of that. Okay. When I was 25, I could eat pretty much whatever. I was pretty healthy, but I could pretty much eat whatever I wanted. I mean, except for the garbage, like the hydrogenated oils and all that. I'm not talking about eating garbage. I'm just talking about eating a normal diet that's healthy. You should be able to do that. Gluten should not send you into a 3-day pain binge. It just shouldn't. You should not be able to eat a donut every once in a while. Like, okay, let me tell you this story, and I swear I'm going to talk about MFI. So Carrie and my other good friend, Shelly, came over, and they're at the house, and we were just hanging out, and I'm drinking a Coke, and they're like, we thought you had it all together. We thought you were the queen. And I'm like, guys, I got well so I could have a Coke every once in a while. So it wouldn't kill me. So I wouldn't go into a total nightmarish exhaustion. I know Carrie's like, oh, but why Coke? Are you kidding me? And look, I have my Achilles. Everybody's got their little Achilles heels. And, I just like a Coke every once in a while and some potato chips and a Snickers bar. I know, but it doesn't make me sick. It's not a complete diet. And I'm not kidding myself and thinking I'm going to eat this for dinner every night. It's like every once in a while I get a treat and that's my treat. But the other piece is I don't crave sugar either. I just don't crave it. So when I can drink a half a Coke and be done with it. Or I can have, like my daughter and my husband brought home a Snickers bar the other night because he knows I like them. And we split it in half and I ate half and she ate half. We didn't get sick and we didn't really want anything after that. It was fine. So, okay. So when we talk about these foods, we are talking about the interaction of MFI in the body. So let's go back to that. Let's talk about MFI goes into the hypothalamus. It attaches itself to DNA immediately in seconds, within seconds of entering the body. And we'll talk about the vectors in a minute. And it lays fake peptides. Okay, peptides are like little emails. They're little communication devices. They're like little switches that go on and off, okay, that turn things on and off in the body. MFI makes fake peptides and lays them over the genetic information, okay, suppressing genetic expression and turning off endocrine function. Okay, so you get MFI within 24 hours. Those first 24 hours, you have lost your ability to receive your own hormones. So imagine it like this. All of a sudden you get a call from your bank and you get a call and they say, I'm sorry, Mr. Jones, but your account has been frozen by the United States federal government. They are, you're under investigation for this, this, and this. Okay, you're totally innocent, you don't understand what's going on, but your account's locked down. Hormones are the monetary system of the body. Hormones are what helps us pay for things. If I drink this glass of water, if I scroll through Facebook, if I make a list, if I go watch TV, if I go take a jog, if I go shopping, if I pay my bills, whatever I'm doing, I have to pay for it. And hormones is that cash flow. Okay, hormones let us think about the future. It lets us turn on and off this light switch. It allows us to make quick decisions. Is this danger or is this okay? Fight or flight. Oh, there's a snake. We need to go back here. Okay, let's analyze. Okay, the hormones are what help us modulate all of those things going on in the body. Anywhere between heart rate, weight loss, the fluid in your eyeballs being enough, being able to hear, your hair being thick and nice. That's your payment plan. MFI freezes that bank account and says, you don't get any of your money anymore. So you can no longer receive your own hormones within the first moment that MFI goes into the body. Okay, that's the first part. Just in that moment, the days and weeks following that, you begin to see, for some, especially MTHFR, genetically sensitive people, which, Carrie, I think you have MTHFR, right? And
I do, and at least one of my sons who we've had tested has MTHFR.
Okay, so MTHFR is a genetic expression. It requires that the body be able to methylate folate. You can correct me on this because I'm not an MTHFR guru. But MTHFR folks, when they get MFI, it's cataclysmic. Probably because they're not able to methylate Bs very well and other nutrients. They go into shutdown mode. You see things like autism, seizures. You see things like, I don't know, what are some other things? I don't know, Carrie, I don't know if you can help me with this. For me, go ahead, were you gonna say something?
But definitely autism, the autism spectrum, which is extremely wide, seizures, the food allergies, the allergies to pretty much anything and everything. And it's because their body doesn't detox properly.
Right.
Because it holds on to all the toxins that it's exposed to. Whereas a normal body without the MTHFR expression can be slowly detoxed from things. So if you're exposed to, say mercury or aluminum from a vaccine, for somebody who doesn't have MTHFR, their body can slowly let it go. But for those who have it, it builds up. And so it stays in the body. And so you may be okay with that first vaccine, but the second vaccine, there's that 225 micrograms of aluminum, and it stays there. And so it builds on top of each other, which, in the long run, it will cause the major health issues.
Yeah, that's a really critical point, because what I've noticed in my work is if you are MTHFR, and just think, guess if you're MTHFR, if you're empathic, if you're highly sensitive, if you're sensitive to noise, if you're very aware of things going around you all the time, if you tend to need more sleep than other people, if you tend to have a sensitivity to pain, those are kinds of things that kind of are personality types that tend to be MTHFR. So people that had MTHFR and had MFI, I noticed were grievously ill, profoundly debilitated, ill, or on an autistic spectrum. So I'm pretty sure I have every MTHFR possibility, and I think Isaiah's got it too. I think Jacob is probably not MTHFR. Hope might be. Alan's not. Just going through my family members in my head, but I'm probably a real significant MTHFR expression. So when the MFI goes into the body for MTHFR folks, they see immediate acute response. I believe I've since solved the relapse problem, so we don't really have a relapse of MFI much anymore. But when I would relapse before through a mosquito bite, which is another long story we'll get into, I would immediately, within 5 minutes, seize up, my arms crinkle up, and I start to shake, and I can't breathe. And then I remove the MFI through the scans, and then I'm within 30 minutes, I'm better. I'm not perfect because I'm exhausted because I just got into, MFI, but, I can have my endocrine function back. So that's what that onset of acute symptoms is from the deprivation of the hormones by MFI on an acute level, on an immediate level. So after MFI has done that, you begin to see the effect of hormone deprivation in the first couple of months. You might start to get tired. You might not be able to fight pathogens off as well. For some people, it's the hyperimmune response, where all of a sudden they start to have immune response like pain and autoimmunity and affecting different tissues and arthritis and that kind of thing. So For the most part, it's a hit and run. Most people don't even know they got MFI. But for those that have MTHFR, boy, they see it really quickly. And they go, what just happened? And so they search throughout their last 24 hours of what did I do? And, the sudden onset of seizures, don't know. So I'm going to show you a picture of the endocrine system. I'm going to share my screen with you guys so you can see that really quick. And we're going to go through what the MFI does to the endocrine system. The MFI begins to damage systems in the body. It starts with the endocrine system. After completing the damage of 3 glands, the adrenals, thymus, and thyroid, it moves on to the lymphatic system, then it moves on to the digestive system. So it's critical information. Hopefully it's very validating for where pain levels are. Remember, pain is regional to damaged systems. So unless Carrie wants to say something really quick, I'm going to share screens. Did you want to say something?
That's great. And there are a few comments. I don't know if you're able to see those on your end.
You go ahead and tell me what they are, and we'll go through them.
Let me click on them again. And
oh, I see. Okay. So someone's saying that they've seen the progression of these allergies from working in the medical profession over 30 years. 40 years, you might have 1 in 1,000 people that were allergic to gluten. Now it's like every other person is on a gluten-free diet. Interesting regarding the MTHFR. Many mothers of those children with Down syndrome have this, and thus the same is also passed down to the child. Yep. Good comments. Any thoughts before I talk about the endocrine system?
No, go for it.
All right, so we're going to share the screen really quick. This is my lovely desktop. This is this is the endocrine system. This is kind of an elementary version of it. So MFI goes into the hypothalamus. Here's the hypothalamus. Can you guys see that okay, Carrie?
Yes.
Okay. There's the hypothalamus right there. It's this tiny little part. So MFI sits there. That's where the mothership sits. It's hiding in the hypothalamus, okay? It releases, what it does is begin to damage the endocrine system. The beginning of that damage starts in the adrenals. And through a variety of ways, it accumulates heavy metals, and we can talk about that another time. It's very intensive. But basically, just here that it accumulates mercury, plutonium, and uranium from incoming new pathogens. That's where mercury, plutonium, uranium are attached to viruses and that come into the body, like the flu virus or something like that. So MFI stops the body from killing those pathogens. It farms the mercury, plutonium, uranium off of those pathogens and takes the mercury, plutonium, uranium and deposits them. First, it starts in the adrenals, okay, and damages the adrenals to 2.9%. So once that's damaged, think of it like a balloon. In order to pop a balloon, okay, you don't have to damage it very much. You just have a little bit's enough, and that's enough for the adrenals, for these glands. Just a little bit of damage is enough to stop the adrenals from releasing these hormones. Now, you weren't able to receive them anyway, but the adrenals were at least pumping them out. They were functioning. When the damage occurs, the adrenals totally stop functioning. So you now no longer have adrenal function in your blood system, the bloodstream, and you begin to experience extreme fatigue, lethargy, brain fog is really bad, thinking into the future, thinking outside of the now, navigating traumas in the past or working through problems or conflict. Those are things that the adrenals really support the body in doing. The adrenals also support the body in navigating grains, simple carbohydrates, complex carbohydrates, in the form of grains and sugars. So this is why people have such success on the paleo diet, on the Whole30 diet, on the GAPS diet, because it relieves the body of having to digest those food groups without the help of the adrenals. So the body, the foods just sit in the digestive system unable to be digested essentially, because the adrenals can't function. That also is helps with the thyroid. The thyroid helps with digestion too. So the adrenals begin to get damaged. By the time people will get to this stage where their adrenals are beginning to get damaged, we're talking about anywhere between 3 to 6 months down the road after getting MFI. It just depends on the person. It depends on how fast MFI acts. Then the MFI moves to the thymus and shuts the thymus down. So we know the thymus, it's not pictured here, but that's my little circle there that I'm imagining. It's right there. And of course, we know the thymus is really connected to immune function. So there goes your immune system. If you had anything left, now it's gone because the thymus now cannot release anything. Then it moves up to and it damages the thymus to 2.9%. These numbers are just what I get every single time I ask. So the adrenal damage is 2.9, then it damages the thymus to 2.9, then it moves to the thyroid to 2.9. Now, I just worked on somebody, a friend of mine's husband, who had this, it's almost like they called it goiter neck, but it wasn't really. He didn't have a goiter, but he had just had the real stiff neck, and it was real thick, like a thick neck. So I worked on him and I removed MFI. Within 2 or 3 weeks, his neck had become so loose and so shrunk. It wasn't as thick anymore. Like you could tell, it almost looked like he had lost weight because his neck was so relaxed. One of the reasons why his neck was so swollen was because of the heavy metals sitting in the thyroid, also creating an inflammatory response in the parathyroids, and that whole area and the lymphatic system is just gummed up. It's just gummed up. When you have mercury, plutonium, uranium in your system, that causes that off gas is radioactivity. So it's going to affect those tissues in a significant way. It's been amazing to see how his neck has totally changed after removing MFI. Because when you remove MFI, the reason this is a big deal to have a quantum release is because it's a quantum pathogen. You have to make it literally disappear from the body, because when it goes, it pulls everything that it's quantumly entangled with. And it's quantumly entangled with these heavy metals that are distributed throughout the body. Okay? It's also quantumly entangled with other pathogens and toxins that it's stashed through the body. So when you remove MFI, its oneness, it has a oneness with these toxins and these pathogens. Everything goes with it. Okay, so you're able to have occur at the end of that scan, the MFI removal, the removal of everything out of the body. Okay, so it's all quantumly released. There's no detox involved. So I just wanted to kind of touch on that. After the body is been damaged in the thyroids to 2.9%, it then moves to the lymphatic system. This is the lymphatic system. And you can see the lymphatic system is a vast network of nodes and vessels. Carrie's heard this so many times. I'm sure she's like bored out. Are you bored out of your mind yet?
Oh, no, I love it. It's fascinating to me.
She's heard it so many times. She's so patient. So the lymphatic system is a one-way valve system. It's not like the cardiovascular system where it's this big rotating, constant filtering in and out of stuff, okay? It's one-way valve. So when you have, for example, a flu shot and you get the injection here, those lymph nodes and those lymph vessels take what has been injected in this injection site and it pulls it into the lymphatic system. I actually worked on Carrie's husband because he got a flu shot, and we removed the live pathogens out of his lymphatic system. That's where it had been deposited, which was really an interesting experiment because I'd never worked on anybody that had a vaccine yet. A recent vaccine, excuse me. So the lymphatic system's job is to draw toxins and pathogens.
Which makes me laugh just thinking about it, actually.
Why? I think I lost her. Did I lose you? What did you say?
Oh, you froze. Oh, the video froze for a little bit. Yeah, it just makes me laugh just thinking about you working on Clinton, because he knows how I feel about flu vaccines, and he was forced by his work to get one. And for me, I was encouraging him just to stand up. I'm like, it's unethical. They shouldn't be forcing you to do that. You're a volunteer. because it was a volunteer versus an actual full-time job. And yeah, so he kind of just did it on his own, but he knew that he could contact you to clear the toxins and whatever pathogens in there. So it's funny because he was sitting out in the driveway in his vehicle, and I walk out and I'm like, who's talking to? I'm doing a scan. I'm like, why are you doing a scan? Like, oh, I got the flu shot. Oh,
That's hilarious.
I'm like, well, that shows my family has trust that you're able to do what you're able to do.
That's really funny. Covert secret scans. So when he got that flu shot, why is that area sore right there? Well, it's because you have an injection site and that whole region is inflamed. You're having an inflamed response. Excuse me. But the lymphatic system's response is to draw those pathogens into the lymphatic system and then address them. It channels them down into these lymph nodes where it dispatches them, and it's kind of shooting fish in the barrel when it gets into those lymph nodes. Now, where was I going with that? MFI deposits these heavy metals into these lymph nodes, okay? It's a one-way valve system. So when this area is all stressed out and has pathogens and toxins in it, that whole region. Are you there? I assume everybody's still here. I don't know what happened. My everything just went blank. So, okay. What happened? Okay, people are here still. Did everybody just experience that little weird clear out there? I don't know what happened. Okay. It says that we still have people on, the same people on. I have to upgrade. Okay, Carrie's there. She probably got booted off. Okay, so let's go back to the lymphatic system when Carrie, I'll be back in a second. Share screen, desktop. Okay, so here's the lymphatic system. So let me move this. So when the lymphatic system is activated, that whole region kind of gets, I wouldn't say seized up, but it's like plumbing. When one of the toilets doesn't work, if you start flushing everywhere, you might make some messes on some floors because the whole system's backed up. So when MFI deposits heavy metals into the lymphatic system, which is the second system, it begins to compromise after it does the endocrine system. It deposits heavy metals in these little lymph nodes, in these lymph vessels. The result of that is damage in those lymph nodes and lymph vessels. And I'll try and go through this really quick because I know this is probably really tedious and boring, but it's important to know because this affects the regional pain. For example, when you have lymph nodes down here in your legs, or even here in this region that have had heavy metals deposited into them, guess where you're going to get the pain? In your hips, in your joints, in the lower limbs, like restless leg, like pins and needles in your feet, like your feet can't get warm, they can't get cold, or they seem to stay cold, or they get overly hot, or you have the plantar fasciitis, or you have all these different things going on in your feet or your legs, okay? For some people, it's digestive in nature. Remember, when the lymphatic system is not functioning in this area because it has pathogens and toxins stashed in these areas by MFI it cannot get rid of, that whole region is inflamed because the lymphatic system is responsible for balancing interstitial fluid. So for example, I've had a couple of clients that have they do not have it anymore, interstitial cystitis. So glad you're back, Carrie. I don't know what happened.
Oh.
I'm not sure what happened. Oh, did I lose her again? Okay. So interstitial cystitis is the body's inability to navigate its interstitial fluid, and that's what the lymphatic system does. So that's the causative pathogen, that's the causative factor in all that, is the interstitial fluid cannot be balanced by the lymphatic system, which blocks healing, which keeps the body from being able to do what it's supposed to do, and especially, I don't know why we keep getting kicked off.
Oh, there you are.
Like my screen keeps going blank and it keeps kicking us off. I've never had that happen.
Yes, I had just totally. Well, we know that there's other powers that would probably rather you not be sharing the truth with people. So
that's true. So we are going to shoulder on. All right. So let's get back to the lymphatic system here. I'll try and, like I said, be a little bit more brief about this because I know it's really tedious. But when the lymphatic system is being compromised by MFI, let's just look at the breast tissue for a few minutes, shall we? Let's look at all these lymph nodes that surround the breast. If you have heavy metals, let's just say right there, okay? What's going to happen to the tissue surrounding that? It's going to be affected by the radioactivity. The entire region of this, all this lymph fluid that is in the lymph vessel is going to be radioactive. And guess what radioactivity causes? That's right, boys and girls, it causes cancer. So we have breast, and actually I've had a couple of women who I've talked with that have had breast cancer, and they say, well, they just say it's in the lymph nodes. Really? That's really interesting. Guess where MFI stashes heavy metals, radioactive material? And that's just one area. Some people have it in their gut. Some people will have damage to their gut-associated lymphoid tissue. Some people will have actually damage. I worked on a gentleman who hardly ever calls me anymore because he's doing so good, who had profound migraines daily. Sometimes he was totally incapacitated by his migraines. And the occipital nodes back here, there's 3 occipital nodes back here in the back of the skull that were severely damaged. Restoration of those occipital nodes caused the migraines to stop. So that's the lymphatic system being totally taken over. That's why people will get jaw pain, because if they have the occipital nodes here that are causing the migraines, the pain is regional. Remember, the pain's regional to the area that's damaged. So not only do you not have your endocrine system, to help you navigate inflammation and getting rid of pathogens and toxins, now you don't have your lymphatic system, which helps balance the interstitial fluid. Now you'll have areas like arthritic pain, you'll have a bad knee, you'll have carpal tunnel, you'll have really bad digestive pain, lots of things, breast cancer, tumors beginning to form because of the heavy metals sending the radioactivity moving from one place to another. So all of this is theory, obviously. I cannot prove any of it. The caveat is that I'm not a doctor, so I'm not diagnosing anything. So, but that's the second system that MFI begins to break down. At that point, you're probably 2 or 3 years in, and for some people, that's all she wrote. The third system is the digestive system. That's the system that gets damaged through all of this as well. That's the third system that MFI continues to work on. So you get your stomach and your small intestines and your large intestines. As if you couldn't digest anything anyway, your food list starts to shrink considerably. Okay, so that's the physical effects of MFI, okay? But the laying on of those fake peptides on genetic material causes the expression of those genes to be suppressed. So that can cause allergies in Carrie. It can cause stomach pain in me. It can cause adrenal fatigue in my son. It can cause the lack of hormones, keeping my son Isaiah from being able to think a coherent thought. Keeps my daughter from being able to have a clear complexion. It keeps my husband from being engaged because he was totally depressed, totally a mess. We were all a mess at that point. That's the effect of MFI on the body. This was discovered through question and answer. It wasn't like I knew this about MFI. There's no documentation about MFI anywhere. There's a little bit that I found after the fact, like in the last 6 months, I found a couple of Mercola articles and then a book called Project Daylily that talks about this weaponized pathogen. And if you look at his stuff on YouTube, just look under, I think it's called Weaponized Pathogens, but if you go to my Facebook page, I've posted several links about it. You'll see how this pathogen was developed and, the progression of it. So as each generation gets MFI, the less likely that generation can reproduce, okay? We have kids like millennials who can't have kids. They can't have kids. Or they try to have kids and they keep having miscarriages over and over and over and over again. Now, I know that's happened, that's not a new thing to have miscarriages, but we're talking about profound amounts of difficulty having kids. Totally normal, healthy people that should be able to have kids. And so you see that as the generations move forward, they get sicker and sicker. The autism epidemic is it's just out of control. How are so many children autistic? Now imagine what that's going to happen, what that's going to look like in 30 years. If that number keeps going, we're going to have an entire generation that literally can't function. So that's MFI. That's the causative pathogen to all of this. So your neighbor down the road may have migraines every once in a while. Your friend's daughter, teenage daughter, may vomit when she starts her period and then never vomits again. But on that first night, she vomits like crazy and she's totally bedridden. That's an example of MFI. What are some other examples? What are some other examples that you've seen, Carrie?
Well, goodness, with you mentioning adrenal fatigue, that was me. Like, I had to take a nap every single afternoon. And now, like, I should be tired because I was up at 3 o'clock in the morning. I've been waking up at 3 o'clock in the morning. Not sure what that's about. But I'm not tired in the afternoon. I can't force myself to take a nap. So whereas before, like, I was extremely fatigued and, couldn't get off the couch.
Yeah, a lot of that brain fog comes out of that fatigue too. Not only are you tired, but you just can't think yourself out of a wet paper bag. It's totally miserable. Yeah. And then you've got to get up and make all these special meals for everybody that involves an incredible amount of work that you have to plan out, and you have to go get special ingredients, and you have to get from special distributors, and only this and only that, and learn how to make sweet potatoes 500 different ways, because that's the only thing that you can eat, or cauliflower. We're making pizza crust out of cauliflower, people. I mean, we can't even eat regular pizza crust. So those are just some things that are impacted by MFI. So when we start to talk about this quantum work, people start to get the heebie-jeebies because they can't explain how this release happens and what is this mysterious pathogen and what's going on here. This is just, you can't explain it even today, we're just explaining a lot, but not in 2 hours. You can't get it all out in 2 hours. So the muscle testing, I just kind of gave you a little piece of it. The causative pathogen of disease, gave you a little piece of that. Let me give you an example of the difference between chronic disease and acute pathogens. This morning, we haven't washed our coffee pot in a while, so rinsing it just wasn't working. So I made myself a pot of coffee, creamer, all that good stuff, because I can drink coffee because it doesn't make me sick, right?
Yep.
So I drank some coffee and I felt sick to my stomach. And I'm like, man, something's up. So I laid down. Lo and behold, I had some bacteria in my tummy. I picked up 12, numbering them is a whole nother conversation, but 12 of them through the dirty coffee pot. So I lay down and I cleared them in an hour or so. I was better and I was back at them. And boy, my phone started just totally blowing up. They must have known that I'd gotten off the couch. But that's a situation where it's an acute problem solved and the immune response stops, and within an hour or so you feel better. That's where you see this work at its best, because you can feel the difference an hour later. When you remove MFI, the body has to go through a DNA reboot, like a refresh, kind of like you refresh your web browser. The body has to go back and look at all that DNA again, make sure everything's copacetic. That takes about 2 weeks. So people begin to of course, that's not even what Carrie had to go through. Carrie had to go through a much longer process, but I've shortened it through just kind of learning how to clear things better, to where now the body's just refreshing its DNA after 2.5 weeks. You begin to see some major symptom changes. Some people see things right out of the gate. They'll say things like that thing that was there is gone. That thing that was living inside my head is gone. It's not there anymore. Like, I totally see that. There was another girl I worked with, this about a month ago. Again, I don't work with her very much, only when she gets a respiratory bug or digestive bug. She had allergies every day. She had to take allergy medicine every day. And then she had some personal pathogens, like the yucky stuff that happens down in the regions that we don't like, that happens. She was having those things go on within the first, I think she stopped taking her allergy meds the day after, and I don't think she ever had to take them after that. I don't think she even took them one day. She picked up a respiratory bug, so it's kind of like a false flag event. She thought it was her allergies, but it was just really a bug. But I think she didn't even take her allergy meds then. Still haven't taken allergy meds and has not broken up. You know, had a break, what is that? Like a little breakout. Breakout's what word I'm looking for. She didn't have a breakout down in that region either. That's a big deal. That's a big deal. And so some people will see the short-term effect because some of their stuff is acute oriented, and the adrenal response and the hormone response responds immediately to that MFI, being gone. The body starts to just, yes, I've heard of Morgellons. And if you know somebody, I'm just seeing that question. If you know someone that has Morgellons, I would love to work with them because I believe it is a major weird manifestation of MFI. Morgellons is that picking out really bizarre, weird fibers out of your skin and like itching like crazy and feeling like you're going to lose your mind. Yeah, I've heard of that. I'd love to work with somebody that has Morgellons. By the way, I am offering right now as a special, if you know anybody with AIDS, I will work on 3 volunteers that have AIDS for free. So that's kind of an offer that I'm doing now. I've never worked on anyone with AIDS, and I'm willing to do three for free. So just kind of a FYI, if you have somebody with Morgellons, would love to work with them too. After MFI is removed, then you get that refreshing done, and then the body begins to build on itself. I've also developed an inoculation scan that keeps you from relapsing with MFI. We used to have relapses all the time. Like I would tell Carrie, all I did was relapses today. People getting MFI from mosquitoes because they're in the mosquito population. There's 4 vectors, mosquitoes. They're all mainly warm weather vectors. Mosquitoes, tick bites. With tick bites, you get the MFI and the Lyme disease, which, by the way, is why people will be really, really sick. People will be really, really sick and not test positive for Lyme, but it'll look like Lyme because all they have is MFI. And MFI is enough to make you as sick as someone that is testing positive for Lyme, but also has MFI. So understand, I have worked on someone. There was a gentleman I worked on overseas in Eastern Europe, in the Eastern Europe area. He was immune to MFI, okay? So when he got bit by a tick, he got a positive Lyme test and fought it off on his own. But he was immune to MFI. So the issue never became chronic. He had an immune response that kills the Borrelia off, but was not circumvented by the MFI. So if you don't have MFI, you can get rid of Lyme disease. But the problem is people are really, really sick. There's those 2 categories, the people that only have MFI, and there's the people that have MFI and the Lyme bugs, and they get diagnosed with Lyme, and they're like, oh, I have Lyme disease. Okay, well, let's test the Lyme. But it's not a false flag, but it's not what they should be focused on. They should be focused on MFI, which, by the way, you can't kill MFI with antibiotics. You can't get to it because MFI has the ability to bend light. That's why the body can't see it, is because the MFI bends the light that the body has around itself, so it always looks dark. So imagine you have an invisible intruder that comes into your house and stealing your stuff. I mean, you can see it happening all around you, but you can't see the guy. So you go get your Uzi, okay, because everybody has a Uzi, and you come in and you shoot your room up and you're trying to kill this guy. He's laughing at you from the corner and you've completely trashed your room, right? That's what your body's doing. Your body's trying to kill an invisible intruder and it's laughing at it. It's laughing at the body going, I see everything you're doing. It's also why when you take an herbal supplement or something else, you're trying to treat these symptoms, it works for like 3 days or like a week and then it stops working because MFI goes back in, attaches fake peptides to these substances and says, or a fake antibody actually, anytime, and then commands the body, anytime you see an antibody attached to something, treat it like it's have an immune response. So then you start to get flare-ups every time you take it. Then you say, well, maybe I'm just killing off pathogens and this is the Herx response. Okay, so you cycle in and out of these bizarre things where the Salt C was working for like a week and then it stopped working, which is why Lyme people do the pulsing. Okay, they do the pulsing, they go in and out of these different these treatment modalities. So both groups have MFI. One just gets a positive Lyme test. These people, the doctors are now saying, well, we're not getting Lyme disease because we can't seem to get the pathogen. We think it's probably the testing. So we're just going to keep treating you like you have Lyme. Okay, they look like the same symptom groups. So they'll diagnose you based on your symptom group instead of your blood test. Okay, it's why some people test positive for Borrelia and some people don't, and they're all sick the same way. They all have MFI. That's the critical piece. So with that in mind, I'm going to take a deep breath, see if anybody else has any questions. Q&A here. Have I worked on? Yes, I have worked on small fiber neuropathy and autonomic neuropathy. How about brittle diabetes that was not diagnosed until 40 and with type 1 diabetes? I'm actually in the middle of working. I never had an insulin dependent diabetic until this year. We started working together. She is in phenomenal shape. She has not stopped taking her insulin. We're waiting on blood results. You know, this work, when you are dealing with people that are navigating pharmaceuticals, you have to work within the system. So you have to navigate the blood results. What do the blood results look like? What are insulin levels look like? How does she feel? She was, this particular diabetic girl was one of the girls who kept getting relapsing issues where she'd have a mosquito trap in her house and it would bite her every day. It's the same stinking mosquito and it's making her sick. So, but she kept saying, I can't believe how good I feel. I can't believe how amazing. I haven't felt this good in years and years. And she's, you know, she's still monitoring her blood sugar. She's still giving herself the insulin injections. We're waiting to see. We're giving the body time to heal. She's absolutely expressing an incredible amount of changes with the MFI gone. But with the insulin dependency, we're working with that, watching that. You can't just yank somebody off insulin and just be like, good luck with that. You have to work with the doctors and you have to work in conjunction with all that. So it's not always, you know, really simple, especially if you're on a pharmaceutical. If you're on a pharmaceutical already, like a blood pressure medicine or a blood thinner or something like that, we have to work in that framework. So we work within that, understanding that the blood thinner, once MFI is removed, can toxify the body. The body will no longer see it as something that it will use to keep you alive, because you can't regulate your own blood viscosity. It will then see it as a toxin because it doesn't need it anymore. It can navigate its own, you know, blood viscosity, so or blood or heart rate or whatever that you're on. So the medications absolutely, you know, play in, and we do a lot of communication. We talk a lot about it. I never recommend people get off their meds without their doctor's approval. That's absolutely critical. They have to do it. Some people are brave and they say, I'm just going to get off on my meds as soon as you get MFI out because I know that's what's causing my problems, and they never have any problems. But that's their decision, and they have to make that decision in the framework of the medical, you know, that medical genre. I can't, you know, move people in and out of that without, you know, their doctor has to do that because it's all pharmaceutical stuff. And for me to do that would be giving medical advice, and I don't do that either. Let's see what else here. So the neuropathy, the fiber neuropathy and the autonomic neuropathy, the neuropathy is something that comes up quite a bit, specifically sometimes for men. And that usually is that hormone deprivation. That's a causative, the hormone deprivation is the causative factor, along with the damaged lymphatic system in that region. So when MFI is removed, all that healing of the systems repair themselves immediately. And then the body begins to release those hormones. And then you're able, you know, to get those symptoms begin to fade. Nothing ever goes away. Like you don't wake up one day and go, oh my gosh, I'm like 50 pounds lighter and I'm a supermodel and I can go like run 5 miles and juggle all these different plates. And it's a transition. The body transitions from illness to wellness. Think about like if you broke your leg, okay? Nobody expects you to run the marathon in 6 weeks, okay? You have to heal. So I do very little of that healing work. The body does it of itself. I just keep removing the blocks. I make sure the blocks are out of the way, that you don't get MFI, that the pathogens and toxins stay out and your body has the nutrient levels. There's nothing disrupting your hormones. Me and Carrie have gone through that, where we've had situations where our hormones have been disrupted by different products. I bought this product from VitaCost, thought it was totally legit. I've been using it for 2 months. Oh my gosh, it had been messing with my estrogen and testosterone. I was going to lose my mind. And it made my stomach hurt, which is weird. I put it on my face, and because of the hormone disruption, it made my stomach hurt. Okay? So isn't that strange how hormone disruption can cause these weird roaming symptoms? So that's kind of one of the pieces to the hormone disruption, is it causes very, very strange, very weird, non-specific symptoms. I'm going to look at the time here. We kind of technically have a half an hour. We may not last that long. Any other questions or thoughts? I've not heard of Mickle therapy. I have heard about the programmable nanoparticles and the black goo. I've heard about that. It's really interesting. And that's one of the pieces of MFI that's really critical, is that this MFI has been so sliced and diced with different genes being put in and out of it, that it's extremely hardy. It survives in mosquitoes. It survives in ticks. And it's just really damaging to the body. It's almost like it's sentient. I mean, it does the same thing in every person. It damages their adrenals, thymus, thyroid, then their lymphatic system, then their digestive system. But even if you don't have MFI, this method will work for the little things that do need to be taken care of. Let me give you an example. My son got into somebody's yard about a week ago and got glyphosate on his feet. He is notorious for doing this, either because he runs barefoot or whatever. When he gets glyphosate, do you guys know what glyphosate is? It's Roundup. It's the stuff you spray in your yard, because we're killing oh my gosh, we're killing our planet with this glyphosate. I'm like Jeff Goldblum in the part of Independence Day when everything's going to hell in a handbasket and he's mad because nobody's recycling. It's like that. It's like drives me crazy, this glyphosate. So anyway, glyphosate is extremely toxic, and we spray it on our yards all the time. Anyway, so Jacob, my little one, was running and somehow got on his feet and came home, and his feet began to break out and shed skin. It's like this flaking. It's this really bizarre flaking. So I cleared him of it, and it went away. So these little acute things that happen, from time to time. Carrie has had an experience with glyphosate. Do you want to talk about that, or is that too personal? I don't know.
No, I don't mind.
Yeah.
Sharing. It's an issue. Going to spend probably at least 9 months ago with one of my sons. He came and said that
was it that long ago?
Yeah. It was like last August, last December. But anyways, he came to me and told me that he was having trouble going to the bathroom. I'm like, okay, why? And he showed me, and I obviously don't use that word in public, so I won't say it. But yeah. So anyways, it was all swollen, and he could not go to the bathroom. And I'm like, oh, okay. Like, I actually had the thought, I'm going to have to take you to the emergency room for this. And how? But obviously, I had Natalie in the back of my head. And so I went ahead and scheduled, and she was able to do a scan that day. And oh my goodness, you found a lot of glyphosate.
Yeah.
And within a couple hours of finding it and clearing it, the swelling went away, and like the issue went away completely.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, what would we have done without a scan? I have no idea.
Yeah. And so how does glyphosate get on a little guy's area down there? Okay. Likely what was going on was he was running around in somebody's yard. He had a stink bug. Stink bugs are everywhere. I get so tired of stink bug season. Anyway, we didn't have a hard enough winter here on the East Coast, so they are already coming out. It's going to be endemic. I can see it. So anyway, so likely he was out in a neighbor's yard who had sprayed glyphosate, got some on his shoes, maybe tied his shoes, and then went to the bathroom, used the bathroom, had the glyphosate on his hands and contacted that area. And then I just cleared it. It was, glyphosate is just like anything else. The body can clear it the same way. It's actually not me clearing it. It's just me telling the body to do it, and the body does it on its own after doing it, after telling it to. So my son got bit by a copperhead. I tell that story too from time to time. That scared the jeepers out of me. This was about 3 years ago. I was still in development with some of this work, and he had grabbed a baby copperhead. There was a nest of copperheads. We had just moved here. He got bit on the hand, and he came in screaming, "I got bit by a snake. I can feel it going up my arms," he said. And I'm like, oh my gosh. And baby snakes, the baby copperheads are more dangerous than the mother because they can't control the venom. So you get it all, man, when you get a bite from a baby copperhead, from what I understand. So this venom's going up his arm. I'm like freaking out. So I scan him and I removed the toxin, and he's okay. It was then that I knew, oh, this is real. Like, we're not going to have to go to the ER now. And my son's not going to be dead because of this. And then me and God had a really long talk. And I said, I'm not doing this with you. No, we're not doing this. We're just going to keep this on the down low, and I'm just going to keep it in my family, and we're going to all be real secretive. And God's like, yeah, let me know how that's going to work for you. And, he increases the burden. Anthony Patch, I know, I really admire and respect him. He said something one day at the Knoxville conference that I watched that little clip of, and he says, I didn't choose to do this. This is something that's been on me. I'm paraphrasing, obviously. But he says, this is something that God is showing me to do that I feel kind of compelled to do, to share. And that's what I feel like. I feel like I feel like Jeremiah, where he says, I'm going to try not to say this word. I'm going to try and keep it in. But if I keep it in, it just burns within me and it just makes a mess of me. So I'm just going to say it. I'm just going to do it because God said so. So here we are doing all this, talking about this. But I just believe that God has made a way where there wasn't a way. MFI is impossible to kill with antibiotics, with the typical methods, because the body can't see it. It's the invisible intruder that's laughing at you. So that's where that's kind of a couple of stories of some acute situations that this can work in. So the parathyroid adenoma 12 years ago had to have 1.5 removed. That was very, very, probably very connected to, the MFI depositing the heavy metals in the lymph nodes and the thyroid in that region, and that whole region being affected. The parathyroids can be affected by the thyroid, not working, number one, and number two, having heavy metals in that region, thus affecting and causing radioactivity in that area, either a tumor, cancer, enlargement, inflammation of some kind. So just reading a question there off of some of the things there. Okay, so love all these different comments. Let me look at another question. Okay, so what do you mean by commanding? She had just heard about me yesterday. She's read everything in my website. I don't understand what you mean by commanding. Okay, so let's just do a simple scan with Carrie. Carrie probably has nothing going on in her system right now. So, because I think I scanned you a couple of days ago, and I think your body killed everything, or maybe I don't remember.
Yeah, I had already killed everything. So I had a little bit of a respiratory thing going on, but nothing that turned into anything major. And it's interesting because I can now tell, like when I start to feel something like a virus, I have this gut instinct that tells me, ooh, okay, I need a scan now, or okay, you know what, I got this, and it can kill it on its own. So sure, like go ahead and start a scan on me, just so you can show others who have no idea what you do.
All right, so you're going to hear me say something called List A. Okay, I'm going to say ask LP List A, and what I'm doing is I'm shrinking really long commands, really long questions into really small phrases. So List A, for example, is the list that I developed along with someone else of every part of the body. So I just have consolidated, I'm asking things like, is there a live pathogen in the body at this time. So I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to test Carrie. You're going to see what I'm doing. So I'm going to hold my hand up here so you can see me muscle test. So you get yeses and nos. That's how I do that. Yes and no. You can see how I'm just thinking yes. And it always responds a little bit quicker than what I can say because the thought travels faster than the words. So that happens a lot. Okay. So, all right, I'm going to test Carrie. So I'm going to say, okay, this is where people get really freaked out. So I'm going to say, I want to be well. I'm testing myself. I want to be well. I want to be sick. So the body always wants to be well. All right. When I say I want to be well, I should always get a yes. The body always wants to be well. When the body says, and then I'm going to say, I want to be sick. And the body should say no. There is no intent on me saying, I want to be sick. I'm not saying, I want to be sick. Like, I'm not making myself be sick. If our words were that powerful, I'm telling you, I would have the winning lotto numbers this Saturday, okay? If I could just say, I'm going to win the lottery on Saturday, March whatever, dude, I would totally have the lottery winning numbers on Saturday if our words were so powerful that we could just put on ourselves certain things. So we have to just be careful that we don't edge onto superstition. Okay, that we have truth, all right, that we have truth mixed into what we're doing here, because that's really critical. So just because I say it doesn't mean it's happening, but I can test it with the intent of finding out what the truth is. I want to be well, I want to be sick. Okay, so then I'm going to ask Carrie to say the same thing. That allows me to connect with her, number one. That allows her to give permission to me to test her. And then it allows me access into her infrastructure. When I say infrastructure, I mean like Wi-Fi, data. Okay, I don't have access to her memories. I don't have access to her thoughts. I don't have access to the Bible verse she read this morning. I don't have access to what she, was thinking 6 months ago. I don't have access to that. I just have access to data that is sort of the intelligence of the body. So, like, when did she have a pathogen? How long ago? How many is there? That kind of thing. That's the kind of data we're talking about. So we're just going to look at that. Okay. So I want to be well. I want to be sick. And sometimes I yawn. Can I test Carrie at this time? So I'm asking my body, can I test Carrie at this time? And sometimes I haven't totally worked this out, but sometimes I think I can't always work on people because they're like sleeping. I think they have to give permission. So I have to actually be given permission by somebody to work on them. I can't just like think about them and work on them. That's not the way that this works. That's why I think some of that stuff that's out there is garbage, where they talk about, well, I work on you while I'm sleeping, or I work on you while I'm dreaming, or I work on you when I'm thinking of you. And I just don't think that can happen. I don't think you can command the body to do something and it happen without you being connected to them. So this is the way we get connected. So I want to be well. I want to be sick. Can I test Carrie at this time? Okay, Carrie, say I want to be well.
I want to be well.
Uh-oh. Do you have a respiratory bug?
I don't feel like I do.
Okay, I want to be well. I want to be sick. Can I just Carrie at this time? Okay, say I want to be well again.
I want to be well.
Say I want to be sick.
I want to be sick.
Let's LP, let's stay. Is there any live pathogen in the body at this time? Is there any dead pathogen in the body at this time? Is there any toxin in the body at this time? Has there been any disruption of any hormone or neurotransmitter in the body in the last 7 days? That's a really important question for Carrie, because she's had some products that have really messed with her hormones, and it's been very challenging for her and challenging for me. The two of us have kind of been in the same boat. That's an example of a scan. If I were to clear a pathogen from her, I'd say, is there a pathogen in the body? Yes. How many? 1, 1, 2, 1, 3. And then I would go through the process of saying, can you get rid of this? Do that right now. And this is the vernacular. This is just kind of the dumbed down version of like, okay, this is how it's a very long statement, that's shrunk down into some small words, just so that I can navigate the problem quicker. So I get rid of the pathogen, in and out, in and out, in and out, it's done, and then it's over. So when I'm saying commanding, I'm just saying it really is asking the body questions. Can you do this? Make it so. This is the enter button. This is the execute button going, yes, make it so. It's the observer effect, the quantum physics observer effect of when I do this and it says, yes, it can do that, it does it. Okay, that's what commanding the body is. I can't go and command Carrie's liver to go away, okay, because that's anti what the body is programmed to do. I can only ask the body to do what it can already do. All right, so, you know, I used to think that I was teaching the body how to quantum release, but I realized that other day I was talking to my husband, I said, you know, I didn't teach the body how to quantumly release. The body could already quantumly release, and it took me 7 years to discover through playing, you know, 20 questions that it could do it. The body taught me that it could quantumly release. So these are inherent within ourselves, this quantum release ability. We just never knew about it. We didn't know that we were quantum beings. That's amazing. I mean, and really, we know that it's true because we can't synthesize in the regular, you know, zeros and one computers that we have, our desktops and stuff, can't synthesize, can't recreate chemical processes that are going on in the body. They're too complicated. We are quantum in our nature. We just haven't been able to access that, or maybe not access it, but not ask enough questions to get there. So I think the reason this has surfaced, this work has surfaced, has been God responding to the environment that we're in, meaning new pathogens, new toxins that we have never been exposed to, now we're exposed to on a daily basis. We need a way to stay well, okay? That's what I think. I think this quantum pathogen, this MFI, is so detrimental, so damaging, that it requires something as complicated as quantum release for it to be navigated out of the body. So I hope that answers the question. Can this asking be done with special needs kids that are nonverbal and cannot agree? Yes. Can the parent accept? Yes. The question is basically, what you're asking is, can the parent be used as a surrogate? And yes, the parent, we do that all the time with Carrie and her boys, with nonverbal children, with babies. Oh, this story. Oh, I'll tell you this story. This is the most amazing story. I had no idea what I was getting into. This mom adopted this baby literally out of the hospital. Out of the mom's, literally, the mother had the baby, and they literally gave it to the adoptive mother out right there. The mother had been, I think, a heroin addict, had heroin in the system. The baby was born with heroin in the system. The adoptive mom called me and said, let's do this. Let's work on this. Let's clear the heroin. So she, of course, held her son, and I worked on her son through her, and I found the heroin. Now, when these babies have these drugs, they do this, and when you try and pull their arm down, they put their arm back up. Now that I know is a lymphatic response, but the doctors may not really realize that. They see it as probably muscle response or neurological response, but it's lymphatic response. Lymphatic system is really totally trashed because the heroin is in the lymphatic system. The body's done its job and put it in the lymphatic system, but the lymphatic system is like this, and so the baby's like this. So he'd been like that since she brought him home. I cleared the toxin, the heroin, which, by the way, when I connected with the child, just like I connected with Carrie, no weird, just I want to be well, I want to be sick, I could see the profound toxic effect of this on the baby. So I literally could not stop weeping. I could not stop crying. I was weeping the whole time, clearing this, because I could feel it so dramatically. And so I cleared it, and within, I think, a minute or two, the baby just started to stretch out, started to smile. The mom was completely floored. She's like, I can't believe this is happening. And he's been a totally normal baby ever since. He didn't have to go through the tremors. He didn't have to go through the shock. He just got the heroin cleared, and he could be a normal child. And it was one of the most impactful impactful appointments I've ever had. I think I wept for like an hour after, because I could see how the enemy's plan was to kill that child in the womb of his mother by destroying the mother and deceiving the mother and tricking the mother into believing that she was nothing and that all she deserved was heroin, and that trickle down effect onto the baby. And it was, I'll never forget it. And I don't really care that people are uncomfortable with my physical responses. I've just kind of lost. I just don't care, because that's just the way it is. When I connect with people, I feel the things that the pathogens are impacting. I can't help it. It's just inherent. It didn't used to be that way when I was working with people in the beginning, but as I've begun to work with, people, I've developed a sensitivity. Now I can kind of tell, like, if somebody's got a respiratory bug or digestive bug, as soon as I kind of tune in. That's why I was like, do you already have? And so it's possible that maybe she picked up something in the last 24 hours and already killed it and didn't even know about it. So that's possible. But of course, I don't ever know until I test. So there's that critical piece, is you always have to test. Okay, so do you need to have someone else do this for you, or can you do this for yourself? So I work on myself all the time. So if you learn how to do the work, you can do it yourself. Like this morning, I cleared my own stupid digestive bacteria. It was totally, and it's harder to work on yourself because you're the one in pain and you're sitting there like trying to get the splinter out of your own hand. It's kind of hard. So can this work get rid of multiple sclerosis? So if multiple sclerosis is caused because of MFI depriving the body, the muscles, the neurological system of hormones, and I remove MFI, then the body can restore itself back to health. So the question is the multiple sclerosis caused by MFI? I posture that it very possibly could be. Again, I don't know till I test. Who knows? It could be a weird toxin from, I've had people have chronic illnesses. Like there was a gentleman that had lived in a foreign country and he had gotten some kind of industrial toxin stuck in his throat, and he was constantly hacking up this garbage, got it cleared, it was over. Didn't have like major problems beyond that. So sometimes toxins can get stuck and pathogens get stuck, but it's usually regional. It doesn't affect the whole body like MFI does. So if multiple sclerosis is indeed caused by MFI, if ALS is indeed caused by MFI, we're not deficient in pharmaceuticals, we're deficient in nutrients. Are we deficient in nutrients? One of the reasons is because MFI doesn't allow you to digest them because you don't have the hormone functions to do that. So the hormone dysfunction, the hormone deprivation from the neurological system, the neurological system needs, all of that information too from the hormones. So I believe that it's connected, but I can't prove it until I work with somebody. And even then, can I really prove it? I mean, I'm that weird girl who does the weird scans. Am I really proving anything except someone just says they got better? So, because, you go back to this work and you go, yeah, but you're just kind of doing non-things. You're not giving somebody a drug. You're not giving somebody an herb. You're not giving a tincture. And that's the thing about this work is once you get free of MFI, half of your vitamin closet is unneeded. I mean, I stopped using like 95%. This morning, I added a little bit of extra vitamin C because I didn't feel good. I needed a little bit more energy. And I added an extra multivitamin because of the bacteria in my stomach. I just wanted to feel a little bit better quicker. So I added some more nutrients. But I don't have like 14, 15 different tinctures in my, I used to spend hundreds of dollars. Carrie can talk about that. You did that, didn't you?
Oh my goodness, I would spend at least $100 on supplements every single month, sometimes even $300 a month, from omegas to multivitamins to GABA to other neurotransmitters to, garlic, elderberry, echinacea, silver. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. And like now, like I keep some on hand in my cabinet, but goodness, it will last me a year or more.
Yeah. Right.
So we hardly ever have to use it anymore. You mentioned that there's 4 different vectors that MFI comes into the body, and I think you were able to mention the mosquito and the tick. Do you have time to go into the other 2 quickly? Yep.
So the other 2 are contaminated needles or vaccines or blood, like needles from blood work. So I've actually had a client who was free of MFI and then got MFI again from getting, standard blood work from the hospital through the contaminated needle. And just so you know, mycoplasmas are notorious. They are they're very, very hard to get rid of in the medical equipment. Very, very hard. So you can get free of MFI all day long, and then, you know, go get blood work and get it again. Now, again, my relapse, my inoculation scan seems to be mitigating that. When I did the inoculation scan on myself and I got bit by this mosquito, he just came up and jabbed the crap out of my arm. I get sick within 5 minutes. I can't maintain. I don't have slow symptom onset. I have immediate symptom onset. So when that happened, I went, man, I wonder if I got MFI. So I waited for a few minutes to see if I would have a reaction. Didn't have a reaction. I was like, huh, okay. So then I tested myself, asked if MFI had come into the body in that last hour, and yes, it had, and the body had killed it. So that was encouraging. I've had a couple of other clients who live in high mosquito areas like Africa, and they have gotten MFI, relapsed and not had symptoms. So the body killed it off. So the body's ability to kill it off is just based on genetic information that the body needs, and the body will add that to your DNA, to your genetic information, in order to be able to kill it off if I ask it to do that, because it can do that for you. So that's the third vector, is that the vaccines are a really critical piece. That's why you know, you get a vaccine and you're having these vaccine injuries. It's my opinion, because MFI has contaminated these vaccine lines, either deliberately or on accident. It doesn't matter to me one way or the other, whether it's on purpose or by accident. The MFI has contaminated it. It causes the endocrine collapse, you know, within a day or two of the vaccine, and then you've got a totally debilitated children and adults. So that's the third vector. The fourth vector is extremely rare, and lo and behold, I seem to have stumbled upon getting it this way last year. And actually, I did it, I guess it was last year, because I sent Carrie a video going, this is me with MFI. I am so sick. But I got it from tuna fish. My husband had made tuna salad. Within 15 minutes of eating the tuna salad, I was sick. And so that I had actually gotten sick from that tuna salad before, that particular brand. So I don't even eat farmed tuna anymore. I just only eat the wild caught from here until perpetuity. The other, you can also get it from shrimp, from heavily farmed shrimp. And I don't know if you've seen some of these videos of this farmed shrimp, some of the farmed shrimp, but they're garbage. I mean, just get Gulf shrimp. They're not feeding the Gulf shrimp GMOs, okay? They're not feeding them genetically modified soybeans laced with glyphosate, okay? So just stick with the fresh stuff. And yes, I get the Fukushima stuff and the radioactivity and all that kind of stuff. I get that. But you know, if you're going to eat it the wild caught type stuff. So GMOs are a great question. I actually have only ever removed glyphosate internally from one person, and that person was my daughter. And my daughter had only gotten glyphosate in her stomach because she had come in contact with glyphosate on a plant that had been sprayed. It was right around the same time Jacob got it on his shoes. So we were like in some area where somebody had sprayed, and she had gotten it in her stomach, and I had removed it. So I have not found glyphosate in people. That doesn't mean MFI can't stash it. MFI is notorious for grabbing that stuff anyway and stashing it. Can the body get rid of it? Theoretically, okay, but I can't prove it. So the GMOs, just stay away from genetically modified food anyway, and you don't want to get involved in that anyway. It's just too much liability for your body. It's not healthy. There's so many other alternatives now. So you know, you can get organic corn at Costco and Martin's or wherever you shop in the nice frozen section. So that's what I would suggest for GMOs. Okay, so just looking at some other questions, making sure we got everything here. I hope this has answered some of your questions. I know this is really weird, like an off-grid kind of thing. I get it. I get the strangeness of connecting with somebody over the internet, okay? But we're doing that right now, okay? We're connected over the internet, okay? We're connected wirelessly. And we just think these are programmed to do it, so it's not a big deal. But how are they doing it? We take for granted nowadays that this is But if I had taken my smartphone into about 80 years ago, people would think this is witchcraft. Are you kidding me? So you just have to, we're so used to it. We're used to the idea of wireless communication with devices, but we're just not used to it. I got to plug it in because it's going to die. We're just not used to the wireless idea with people. Now, remember, the main thing is that I can't work on somebody without their permission. There's no casting of spirits. There's no using of spirits. The only spirit I adhere to is the Holy Spirit, listening to the Holy Spirit. And sometimes I'll hear from the Holy Spirit during an appointment. I'll hear God go, or I'll hear him go. I'll just kind of get a sense of something that's going on. I'll ask the client, do you have this going on in your life? Well, let's pray about that if the client is open to that. In fact, one of the clients I worked on today didn't know her very well, didn't really know she was a Christian, but felt like God saying, hey, see if she wants to pray with you. And just the prayer time was really powerful. So God's working on multiple levels here, okay? He's working on the physical and the spiritual. It's, do you use your powers for good? Or do you not use your powers for good? So some of that spirit work that's out there, that's the sending out of spirits. They're involved in the occultic summoning of spirits, and the spirits are moving the energy of the body. And I talk about that in some of the trainings that I do, the discernment trainings I do. How can you tell the difference between spirit work and physical work? Because I don't even like the word energy work anymore, because there's no such thing, okay? There's no such thing as energy work, because how can you work on energy, okay? You're working with the body. So energy work is just kind of this non-descriptive term for all these weird modalities that we don't know about. So I don't like the word energy work. I know a lot of people ask me, do you do energy work? And I'm like, well, kind of, but not really. So I've tried to actually pull those words off the different places where I have information about myself, because I really don't like that word. So if you find a place where it talks about energy work, text me, take a picture of it and send it to me so I can change it. Because I just really believe this is body work. This is physical work. So, all right. So, okay. So someone has written in, the MS is getting worse. Will this get rid of fatigue and weakness? So we have a few more minutes here. We actually are kind of winding down with time. So I'll just answer that quick question. This is the last call for questions. So get those in, and Carrie, get ready to say whatever you want to say next. And so with the MS, if the MS is getting worse, remember, if you don't have access to your hormones in your body, you're going to see the disease progression get worse, because the body is continually trying to withdraw from a bank account that it's frozen. So the hormones being deprived in all systems of the body is going to cause the dysfunction of those systems. So once the hormones are restored, MFI is removed, the fake peptides are removed off of those the genetic structures, then the body is free to heal that damage of the adrenals, heal the damage of the endocrine system, and begin the free flow of hormones again. So, okay, so it's just a very hard concept. It's just a very hard concept when you say you ask the body to release toxins, but God works in awesome ways. And that's why I'm reaching out to people that are involved in the quantum physics field, because I know that my brain can't always explain it, but if someone in a science field that is very trusted and well-known hears my work and understands what I do, it's easy for them to vet it. And that's really why I've been wanting to connect with, certain people in these technical fields, because they get the work, they get the language. And I'm not being insulting in any way. It's not what I mean at all. By any stretch of the imagination, I don't mean to be insulting. I just mean that concept of the body quantumly releasing was not an easy concept for me to believe, because what I would do, this is how this would work, is I would ask the body to quantumly release something through this precision language. There were 3 pathogens in the body when I started, and now there are 2, which means one's not there, which means one's gone. Where did it go? I'd ask the body, where did it go? Is it in the body? No. Did the body release it? Yes. How did it do that? And it took me a good year to get a grip on what that meant. It really messed me up, guys. This period of 7 and 8 years, mainly 7 years, when I walked through these concepts messed with me, okay? I was constantly going to God going, are you kidding me? The body can do this? what is happening here? Are you sure you want me to do this? Is this satanic? Is this this? Is this that? And I was constantly running everything by God, going, what is happening here? And it really did mess with me. I'm telling you, when my son got bit by that snake and it cleared, I was done. I said, I'm not doing this. I'm not doing this. This is too weird. This is too crazy. This is too real. It's really happened now. This really happened. Okay? Because to believe that you can quantumly release something means the body basically can make it disappear. And how does that work? It's quantum. It's not spiritual. So, because a spirit can't reach into your body and pull out a pathogen. Okay, we'd have all kinds of spirits doing that to all kinds of my clients if that were possible. And it's just not possible. Spirits can't reach in and pull out pathogens out of your stomach. And I'm not asking a spirit to do it anyway. I'm talking to your body. In order to access the spirit, you have to ask the spirit. Okay, you have to access and summon and pray those things in and invite and ask those things to come and be present and then manipulate the energies. That's where a lot of this chakra work is coming from, a lot of this Reiki work. They're inviting spirit guides, which Christians just totally don't understand this. They don't get it. They're so, and I mean this respectfully, but they're so locked in, okay, to sort of the physical sense of the word, the world. They forget we live in a supernatural world, that you can invite demons to be your spirit guide, okay, and give you information about another person. Now that information is going to be corrupted and it's going to be messed up, and the data is going to be, you're going to have a little bit of correct data and then you're going to have a whole lot of not right data. And that spirit can cause things to happen to the other person's body they're working on, he or she's working on. So I've had that experience before. So, and that's a whole other conversation, a whole other talk. But I've had an experience with a supposed healer that totally was messed up and messed me up for like a week. And I had to pray a bunch of spirits off of me. So it's weird, but it's reality. You know, we live in a supernatural world. Am I accessing the spiritual world by asking the body to quantumly release? No. God does not want us messing around in that arena. So if I come in a little too strong about that, I'm sorry. I've kind of been run through the ringer with some of those questions before. So just kind of would like people to think more about it. We use the quantum world in a way. I don't think Wi-Fi is quantum, but certainly we're digging into the quantum realm right now. So, but the body's already there. The body can do it. So, all right. Satan always has a counterfeit of what God can do without. Yep. So, yeah, that's a good comment. You know, Satan's going to have a counterfeit. God wants to do something big. Satan wants to always circumvent that and have a counterfeit. You just have to be discerning. That's what prayer and Holy Spirit is all about. Asking God to reveal things. You know, and I have some people that kind of go, I don't know about this. I need to wait this one out. I invite that. And I invite people to just wait it out. You know, let God show them in their heart. So that's pretty much it for the night. I know that this has been a really long call. Sometimes it lasts till 9. Man, it really lasted a long time tonight. I hope everybody got some good information. I do hope that you pray about this. I am gonna post this online so you can pass that along to your friends. I think we answered all the questions. Carrie, did you have anything you wanted to add?
No, other than Natalie, thank you so much from myself and from others that you've been working on. Thank you so much for allowing yourself to be used by God, because I knew you said to him, no, like I can't do this. But you've been a faithful daughter, and he's blessing you and blessing others because of that. So thank you very much for all the information that you've given out tonight.
Thank you very much for being here, Carrie. Thank you for your friendship and your loyalty. She has just been a loyal friend, and I want to invite people to take a look at my website. What? What did you say?
Oh, so you don't have to thank me for that, silly girl.
Whatever. Like BFFs, me and Carrie. It's awesome. Okay, so I'd invite you to look at my website, www.quantumcommand.net. Go check out the events page. Also check out if you're interested in learning how to do this work, I'm launching Quantum University this fall. Enrollment will begin probably around the end of April of this month. We're going to begin enrollment. So got lots of people interested in learning how to do this. It's a 2-year study program with a year of implementation and supervision program, making sure these, the scans are going through right and you're showing the accuracy of the muscle testing. But I give you all the tools. The first 2 years is very intensive. This ain't playing around. We do tests. We do a lot of stuff. Lots of extra study that you do outside of the classroom. It'll be all online. So I just want to invite people to take a look at that. I haven't put much more up there except it's coming soon. So tuition, syllabi, course outline, that kind of stuff hasn't been posted yet. I'm literally developing it. I was supposed to be developing it today, but other things happened today. So I'm going to be posting that in the next week. So I hope you're interested in that. Also check out and like my Facebook page, the Quantum Command site, because that's where I post these events. That's where I post these videos. I do have a YouTube channel. There's just not a whole lot on there. I don't really have time to navigate that right now. Maybe that'll happen in the future as things move forward. So I thank you so much for being on the call tonight. Feel free, if you're interested in an appointment and getting scans and starting to work with me, just email me and write in the subject line schedule in big caps, just so I know, okay, she wants to schedule, let's get her scheduled quick. So just be patient with me. I have been inundated since the Anthony Patch video came up. So please be patient with me. It might take me 4 or 5 days to get to you, but we will get you scheduled, and please be patient. So hope you guys enjoyed the call. Thank you again, Carrie, for being on, helping moderate and keeping me focused. And if that's all for tonight, I'm going to say good night. Anything else, Carrie?
No, thank you very much and have a great evening.
All right. Thank you. Good night, everyone.
Great. Bye.